right, so we covered this like a couple of months ago, I feel. Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration, mainly Pete Hegseth, that was making changes, man, within the ranks, especially when it comes to DEI, which I like to say stands for didn't earn it, and physical fitness standards, which is, for some odd reason, is always a contentious topic. I don't know fucking why. Mainly among people that have never served. And that's one thing that I've noticed. So we covered this a couple months ago, and now we're covering it again, simply because this happened at, I guess, that meeting of top generals that took place. Mr. Pete Hegseth called a meeting of all the top leadership and the top generals. And we're about to watch what he said in this meeting. It's just a snippet of what he said in this meeting with all these top generals and this top leadership and top brass. He's going to be talking about is something that, like I said, we covered months ago. I thought that this was just something that I was like, all right, man, everyone pretty much agrees with that. Everyone except for, well, civilians. Imagine that. I've been seeing a lot of comments and just like a lot of you dumbass civilians that just don't get it. Y'all are unhappy about this. I can't even imagine why. I think it's just because you're retarded. For the most part, most veterans, active and prior service, were cheering this. Like, fuck yeah. And I'll show you why everything in here is good and why some of you civilians are just bitching for the sake of hearing your own whiny ass fucking voice. Only someone who's never served would have a problem with this. Because I'll tell you what, man, I have a lot of shit to say about some of the things that Mr. Pete is going to talk about here. Especially if it's like what we were talking about a couple of months ago. So let's just get it started. Let's see what he says in here that he either didn't say or left out or just failed to mention all those months ago when we talked about it. I really thought that that was the end of that. He was just going to send out these memos and that would be it. But I guess we're meeting again about this particular subject. I'm pretty sure this wasn't the sole focus of that meeting, but it's something that was talked about and it's something that I'd like to cover because it is pretty fucking simple, man. It's standards the same for fucking everybody, regardless of height, weight, gender, whatever the fuck. And if you can't do it, get out. It's not that hard. It isn't. And it's just so funny, man. I see a lot of civilians mad about this, blah, blah, blah. And when I read their comments, they're not coherent. It's just them bitching for the sake of bitching because, shocker, they don't like Trump. But believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, this is a step in the right direction for the armed forces because it's been a joke for a fucking while. And if you don't think so, you're either in on it or you're stupid. That's just it, bro. So
today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only.
Good.
Because this job is life or death.
Yes, it is. This isn't Cracker Barrel. This isn't Bud Light. This isn't any one of those fucking companies that will change their attitude, their perspective, and their whole fucking image just to appease like 17 people. Yeah, we're not that. It really is life and death. It's a serious job. We have no time, nor any kind of inclination to give a fuck about the feelings of anyone when it comes to this, especially civilians. If you're not willing to put on the boots, man, shut the fuck up in regards to this. I'm telling you, your words don't matter. They never will. And on top of that, this doesn't concern you if you haven't raised your right hand, right? You know what does concern you? Where we go and how much money is used to go there. But when it comes for this don't concern y'all at all. It should be to the highest male standard, especially for fucking combat, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if your weakest link is some 5 foot nothing fucking female that can barely keep up with the pack, or just a male that can't meet the standard, that's either too overweight or just too lazy or not motivated, he should not be there. He should never be there. He or she should never be there. If you cannot meet that standard, you shouldn't be there because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I'm sorry, I served with weak links and they almost got me killed. And why should you have the pleasure and the opportunity of serving next to me? Why? Because feelings? Because you deserve it? Because we had to check off a quota? Because we had to check off a box? Oh, yep, we got that person in there, so we're good there. No, fuck that. There is no such thing as quotas in the military. We shouldn't operate that way because that's how we lose. Oh, we have to put him there because of this. Not because he's the best, not because he's the most physically fit, not because he's the smartest, but because of some bullshit dumbass reason that we usually go for. That everyone tries to go for. Everyone tries to make the military as stupid and as dumb as everything else out there, with all their quotas and their check boxes. And we need this, we need a person of color, we need a lesbian, we need a geriatric, we need a paraplegic, we need a small person, we need representation. Fuck that. There is no representation in the service, okay? It's the strongest, the fittest, the smartest. And if you're neither of those things, get out. Man, that's it.
Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense.
It is.
And core to who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA.
We shouldn't just let you into combat for the sole reason that you're a female. Oh, we gotta let her in there because we gotta have females in these roles, right? No, fuck that. That may fly for another business or another company around the country. That does not fly for the military. We can't operate that way, otherwise we lose. Otherwise we die because we put someone not worthy of that role going into a combat situation. Are you ill? Are you high? Right? If you're overweight, you can't go. If you're not smart enough, you can't go. If you're not strong enough, you can't go. If you're not mentally strong enough, you can't fucking go, man. And I don't know why we're like lowering the standards for what? To make people feel better? But who gives a shit? We're not in the business of making people feel better.
Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test.
Good.
For combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment.
I thought we were doing that already. It was called NTC, right?
Direction, we are also adding a combat field test.
Combat field test. What is this field test going to consist of, Pete? Because is it going to be more extensive than NTC? I hope it is, because guess what, guys? Shocker, NTC is a joke. I learned better, more intricate, more useful shit at the squad level with like 8, 9 guys than I ever did at NTC. NTC was a joke of a training, man, and it was 30 days, and we had to go from Georgia to California, and I felt like it was a complete colossal waste of fucking time. So hopefully this training is better and focuses more on what you're actually gonna be doing, man, and just focuses more on the combat. Maybe it was because of the unit I was in, which is why we were doing things that, while they were useful, they weren't the most useful. I was not a fan of the training that I received at NTC. I was like, man, we literally could have done this back home in the motor pool, actually. Because I thought that everyone went through NTC. That's the National Training Center. That was our last stop before we deployed.
Combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment.
Yeah, so this training, what he means here, guys, is that this will only apply to deployable units that are capable of reaching the other side of the world in less than 24 hours. There are some units out there that are not deployable. There are some installations that they don't do shit as far as combat. So I guess for those units, this type of training won't apply. I think that's a mistake. I think that this type of training should apply to every fucking one. Because you never know how combat's going to evolve. You never know when the fight's going to happen, how it's going to happen, or how it's going to evolve. It's all an ever-changing variable. So while you may be a cook, yes, I understand that a lot of your time is going to be spent in the kitchen, but you never fucking know. Case in point, my first deployment, I went on several foot patrols with a cook in my squad. Why? I don't know, man, but he was good. He was solid, right? He did the damn thing. But just because you have a job that you may think like, oh, that's not going to take me into a combat environment or a combat setting or a combat situation, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be mentally or physically prepared, right? Because that's just a horrible way to be. Imagine you let yourself go because you're in a job that like, oh, I'll never have to hold a gun. But what if you do? You don't know. What if you do? Now you have to run, shoot, and communicate. Guess what? You can't run because your fat ass is out of shape. And now you're either going to die or get someone else killed because you're not prepared for the actual fight, because you never have been, because you never had to. And I don't think that's good.
These tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%.
Good. Because those are the people that we have going to combat for the most part. And if you can't reach that standard, why would we send you into combat with the people that can? Why? You're going to drag them down. You're going to hold them back. And like an athlete that's not performing, you know what happens to that fucker when he's not performing, or he can't perform, or he came to training camp overweight, or he's not doing the right thing, or he can't do the right thing, or he just can't adapt to that kind of environment? Guess what happens? He gets benched. There's nothing different here, except in this case, you may get kicked all the way out of the fucking service because you're kind of useless. I don't know why that is so contentious these days, and why some people have a hard time wrapping their head around that, but it's obvious. You never played organized sports growing up. You don't know anything about competitiveness. Kind of pathetic.
It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT,
so can you.
So can every member of our
Yes.
joint force.
Yes, so can you.
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
I can't tell you how annoying it was to have senior leadership talk down to me while they're not in standard. You got a beer gut bigger than a fucking out of shape 40-year-old dad mechanic. You're sitting here lecturing me about my physical appearance? You're lecturing me about the fact that I have just a little bit of facial hair that I missed when I was shaving? Hey, soldier, what happened? You shaved with a fucking rock? I don't know, Sergeant. What happened? Did you have too many fucking hoagies today? Huh? I can't take you seriously. Don't cast stones when you live in a glass fucking house, man. And I hated that shit. On the flip side of that, I can't tell you how much respect I had for the NCOs that would make me do push-ups because I either did something wrong, or maybe whatever the case. Maybe I was late. Maybe they were giving me corrective training. Whatever the case may be. But I can't tell you how much respect I had for the NCOs that would tell me to do push-ups. But guess what? They would actually get down and do the push-ups with me. I gave the most amount of respect to NCOs like that, to leadership like that. The ones that not only led from the front, they led by example, and they led with you. They led with you. Every left step you took, they were taking a right. Man, that y'all were in sync together. I love that kind of leadership. The one that was involved. The one that was there. Not the one that's sitting in his fucking office all goddamn day, taking credit for all your fucking hard work and never acknowledges anyone because he thinks or she thinks that they're too fucking important to give credit to anyone else but themselves because they're selfish fuckers that are just in pursuit of their own career, which is fine, man. But like when you're stepping on the boots of when you're stepping on the necks of other motherfuckers, it's not cool. It's not fun. And that's all it is. And so, yeah, I hope that that's something that changes. I hope that senior leadership becomes more involved and more proactive. Minus the butter bars. Keep them the fuck away from us. They're way too annoying, and they truly don't know anything.
Leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year.
I thought we were already doing that. That's what I did. I failed one PT test in my military career, and it wasn't because I wasn't physically able. Ladies and gentlemen, I just was not feeling it that day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I didn't feel good. My stomach hurt. I simultaneously had to puke and shit. It was just not a good day. I failed that test. Did remedial PT the following weekend. I was like, I'm good, man. Give me another test so I can get the fuck off this remedial PT. They gave me a test, crushed it the following week, and then went about the rest of my day. But it was on my record that I had failed a PT test, even though I had made that shit up or whatever. But when I did go to remedial PT, which was the first time that I ever did go to remedial PT, dude, I saw people there that I don't even know why they were there. I was like, man, y'all should just go ahead and fucking chapter these motherfuckers out of the military. There's no way they're losing all this weight. And then I would see the remedial PT, and the remedial PT was kind of a joke, really. Not so much at my first unit, which was an airborne infantry unit, but at my second unit, which was a transportation unit, the remedial PT was kind of a joke. And I was like, so you basically have these fuckers living on remedial PT. Like, yeah, they barely have a weekend, but they're still in the service, right? Still getting paid, still like all this stuff. Yet they're of no help to us. They're constantly on remedial PT. There was a guy that had been on remedial PT for like a year. A year. Dog, a year. How? Why? By that point, dude, like, that's it. How long do you need to lose weight? How long do you need to get in shape? Because, I mean, fuck, man. I saw some kind of out of shape motherfuckers go to basic training, and after week 9, they looked like Greek gods, man. So 9 weeks, a whole year spent on remedial PT, and you still can't do it. Like, no, that's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. And if we have to do something, you're not there because you can't, man. Kind of like the people that I saw like permanently on profile. I saw one guy that refused to take the PT test, but never got chaptered out of the military. Ever. Ever. He was like the commander's little pet. Right? Remember in like middle school you had the teacher's pet, little motherfucker always sucking up to the teacher, getting everything, all this stuff, blah blah. That was him. I don't know why or how the commander decided to pick him and only him to make sure he never got in trouble. This motherfucker never took PT tests. He couldn't fucking pass them. Always a disrespectful little shit. Always late, never in the right uniform. And this went on for months. You would think that after all that time, nope, he was kind of a favorite. And then I saw one female get pregnant on purpose, yes, on purpose, just to avoid a deployment. Another female saw me get hit with an ID, not her, saw me get hit with an ID, refused to go on mission. I was on mission the following month. I didn't even have a choice. She refused to go on mission the rest of the deployment. Fucking our platoon having to pull from another group of people, of soldiers, to replace her. Another female got pregnant while on deployment and had to be sent home. Fucking us again because we were down a soldier. We were down 2 pairs of hands. I was just, it was just a lot of shit that I was just like, man, you could have just like dealt with these fuckers ages ago. I talk like things were all hunky dory back in my time in the service, but no, there was still some bullshit. There was still some bullshit, but as far as like PT twice a year, and sometimes it was at the discretion of your commander and your first sergeant. If your commander and your first sergeant wanted to give you a PT test, granted, it wouldn't be the for the record one, right, that would go on file for you. They could just fire up a PT test willy-nilly out of fucking nowhere. That's how I always understood it. It wasn't like this every 6 months shit that was going on. And most first sergeants and most commanders wanted their troops to be in shape. That was like a mantra of my first sergeant. He's like, men, I don't give a good goddamn if you fail push-ups or sit-ups, but y'all's asses are passing the run. He was like a running god. He loved running. That was his thing. That was his whole thing. Like, he lived, breathed, and ate running, right? He's like, but you motherfuckers are going to pass the run. Ain't nobody in this company failing the run. I don't give a damn about the push-ups and sit-ups. Try, okay? Just try your best. But for the run, I swear to Christ, one of y'all fails the run, oh, I'm on you. A couple people failed the run, and guess what? He was on them. But not a lot of people failed the run. I think we only had like 1 or 2 people. And it was that guy that I was telling you about. And then it was a sergeant that worked in operations that for the life of her, she could never pass a PT test, yet she got promoted. And it made all of us angry. And I know one time I worked in operations and she went from her office to the copy machine, which was like 10 whole feet. When she got back to her desk, she was out of breath. I don't think I'd ever seen her pass PT test. And one day I go on leave, come back, she's no longer E5. She's an E6. And I'm like, how? When? What do you mean? When did she take a PT test while I was gone? Did she finally pass it after all this time? Did she finally get through? No. Just promote. Why? Because she worked in operations. She worked like 5 feet away from the commander. It's just, everyone in operations could do no wrong. But everyone who didn't work in operations could do no right. It was, I'm kind of ranting and just like delving into some old frustrations and PTSD from the service, but let's keep going. Sorry. I just hope that y'all are getting a good grasp of this, man, from someone who served and someone who has been under these kinds of rules before. It's not bad. This is actually a step in the right direction, given everything that I had to fucking deal with, everything that I saw, and all these just like little things that got under my skin, man, that finally, not only are they being fixed, not only are they being addressed, they're being fixed. So hopefully all this for the better.
As well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year.
Height and weight is just as important as taking your PT test.
Every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day.
Ooh. I know people in the Air Force are mad. I know people in the Air Force that are mad, and let me just tell you this. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the shit show. Feels good, doesn't it? You're gonna look better too. I guarantee it. You'll thank us. But the Marines are like, we've been doing that. Yo, Pete, you could have sent that as an email. The Army's like, yeah, no shit. I mean, duh. And the Space Force is like, that apply to us? But the Air Force is like, God damn it. We had a good thing going. And Pete came in here and fucked it up. Because I know a lot of Air Force personnel. Y'all don't do PT. Don't lie to me. My sister's in the Air Force. You know when that girl does PT? Huh? You know? You want to know when she does PT? Whenever the fuck she wants. Whenever she decides to go to the gym on her own time. Off post. That's unheard of to Army people. That's unheard of to Marines. Okay? So, yeah, the only people I feel that are truly going to be upset about this and feel some kind of way, Air Force personnel. That's it. And the whiny civilians that don't know fuck all about the service.
Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already.
Yeah.
But we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga and stretching.
No, like PT.
Real hard PT, either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chief.
I wouldn't trust anyone under the rank of E5 to do PT on their own. You might want to rephrase that, Pete, before E4 like me takes that sentence and bastardizes it and twists it to my own benefit. Surely when you say individual, you mean like someone above the rank of like, actually not even above the rank, you just mean officers. Because for the most part, that was my experience. I rarely ever did PT with my LT and my commander. Did PT with my first sergeant a lot, but bulk of my PT was spent with my first line leadership, my sergeant and my platoon sergeant. Oh, you said as an individual. You didn't say what kind of individual you had to be, but I'm sure he means officers really for the most part, because lots of times I always saw officers doing PT by themselves. And if they weren't doing PT by themselves, they were doing PT with other officers. It's very segregated in the military, man. And not even on purpose. It's just that's the way it is. Your lower enlisted will always be with lower enlisted. Your NCOs will always be hanging out with other NCOs, and the officers will always be hanging out with. And it's a different culture in all these kinds of groups, and it's a different attitude in all of these different groups. The military is a wild place sometimes.
At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already.
Yeah.
Active, Guard, and Reserve. This also means grooming standards. Mm-hmm. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression.
When the fuck did we have beards, Pete? I missed that gravy train. I don't remember beards, man. And the only beards I do remember were on the black guys because they had a shaving profile because their skin is more sensitive to shaving. So they get razor burn and bumps, and that shit's very uncomfortable, painful for them. So they get shaving profiles so that to an extent they don't have to shave in this area, right? They still have to maintain a very, very nice appearance. It has to be groomed and everything, but under here they can get away with it. Can't be like me right now, but just like close to the skin, right? So they get that luxury, which should still stay in place, I feel. Because while I've never had issues with shaving and my face and breaking out and razor burn and stuff like that, I can only imagine that shit blows.
Cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans.
I don't.
But unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS and enforce standards, or leaders who felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable.
Because of an overbearing commander, probably. Or an overbearing colonel. Or an overbearing first sergeant. It always starts with the leadership. I'm not going to blame that 5-year-old for doing what 5-year-olds do. I'm going to blame the fucking parents. You know, it's just one of those things.
And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos.
Again, unless you're Navy SEALs, Special Forces, none of us could have beards, Pete. At what point could we? Aside from the exemptions, like shaving profiles. I never saw long hair either. But just because I never saw it, doesn't mean it probably didn't exist. Now it'll never exist again. So, whatever.
The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done.
Oh, shit! The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. So, people taking advantage of that. There was people taking advantage of shaving profiles, I'm guessing. Because I vehemently disagree with you taking that away from the black soldiers. At least the ones that have that condition. Not every black dude has that to where shaving for them is problematic. You know, met several black dudes in the military where shaving went just fine for them. But there were some, bro, where if they did, that shit was just like, it looked ugly too. It can't feel good either, man. So they were allowed to like grow a little bit. I highly disagree with that being removed. Now, for the dudes that go in there and give some ridiculous bullshit excuse, making shit up, and somehow, some way, the military believes them, yeah, that probably should stop. I agree. Yeah, for sure. But if y'all can hear my niece, I'm sorry. So, basically, everything except for that last one, because it wasn't fully explained, everything here is a good thing, man. And if you don't think it is, you've never served. And that's okay. I just explained to you why it is a good thing. I just explained to you all my grievances that I had that will probably seem to be fixed here. Now, I don't even know why I'm putting that back on. Now, in my experience, when I was in the service, which was like 10 years ago, I didn't really notice much DEI, man, at all, whatsoever. I just noticed a lot of other dumb shit. I never saw someone get a job or a position because of being female or being this or being black or whatever the case. I didn't see much of that. I just saw people getting preferential treatment. I just saw people getting treated special. I just saw a lot of coddling for certain people, protection for certain people. They got a lot of courtesies that me and my friends, we would never see in a billion years. Hopefully I could shed light and bring some commentary to this that will make it make more sense for the civilians. That for some odd, weird reason, y'all have a very special vested interest in this. I have an interest in this because I'm prior service. What's your interest? Huh? And why does this bother you so deeply? Why? Because we're not going to be politically correct about how we run the military? We shouldn't. Like I said, military is not in the business of making people feel warm and fuzzy inside. No, we're in the business of taking that feeling away. So, all right, let's read some comments. It says, yes, 100% true. I know of an officer in the National Guard was to stay in a healthy manner and had to take PT tests once a year. And if this failed, they were kicked out. Yeah. And do you know what that's called, ladies and gentlemen? It's called failure to adapt. Someone said, I love it. Even at a police level, I like to see fitness. Cops that can run and have their uniforms perfectly pressed. I want to be impressed when I see a man in uniform, no matter what kind of work. I think this is the first step of discipline and pride. Yeah. And same goes for police officers. If you can't run, jump, move, shoot, communicate, if you're 250 fucking pounds and that's not muscle and it's all just fucking back up, I lost him. But you just started chasing him 30 seconds ago. He's gone. I don't want you being a cop either. Why should you be in that job if you physically can't do it? You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting other officers at risk. You're putting other people at risk. You know? Because it's that kind of job. That job doesn't... I know that this statement is probably getting old by now at this point, but this job, nor the military, nor combat, nor policing, nor border patrol, nor national security gives a fuck about your feelings. Could you imagine what the NFL would look like if it wasn't about the strongest and fastest? Imagine what baseball would look like if it wasn't about the strongest and fastest. Imagine what soccer would look like if it wasn't about the skill and the finesse. If it was about other shit. If they drafted based on who had the most Instagram followers. Imagine that. Because you have a lot of Instagram followers don't mean you're fucking good. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, if you pick someone based off of everything except for what the job is asking for, how good do you think they're going to be at that job? I don't care if your unit is non-deployable. What if something happens and we need your unit and they say, hey, guess what? We need you. You're going to deploy. What are you going to do? What can you do? Fucking nothing. You're just a uniform at that point. There's no soldier in there. If everything broke down right now and you actually had to fight as a soldier right now, could you? Let's take the worst case scenario and you had to fight right now. You had to put that helmet on. You had to put that IOTV on. You had to put, fuck elbow pads and knee pads, that's whatever. And you had to grab that weapon. And you had to go do stuff. Could you? Could you? A lot of people in the military right now that can. That's a problem. And with Pete only training a specific section of the military for this, I feel like that's an even bigger problem. As good of changes as I think these are moving forward. Should be all encompassing, man. But maybe he's just doing that to save money. All this shit costs money. What did we learn from this that we didn't already know from the last time that we covered this? Nothing much. We haven't really learned anything different. I agree with all this, man. I agree with all this because, again, a lot of stuff that I saw in the military, I'm just telling you guys, you have no idea how much it got under my skin. How much it got under my skin. This was one of my biggest complaints when I was in the service, and it has to do with females. Yep, has to do with females. Yep, we're going there. We're gonna have that conversation right now. The one thing that pissed me off more than anything in the world is that I had to fucking kill myself on those PT tests, man. Meanwhile, the females barely had to try. Barely had to try. When a female, dude, when I saw a female max out her PT test, she wasn't even tired at the end of it. When I maxed out my PT test, I was fucking gassed. I tried my ass off. But because the difference in the standard between me and that female, you know how much time guys, 2 miles for me between the ages of 18, 21 for males, 2 miles, guess how much time you got? 15 minutes and 15:56, I think, is what you got to run your 2 miles. I always came in 14, but whatever. And sometimes I would push the limit and get like 15:30 because whatever. You know how long the females got to run their 2 miles? 18 minutes. A full 3 minutes longer than me. They had to do less push-ups. However, they still had to do the same amount of sit-ups. But it was that run that got me, that I was just like, what if we get put into a combat situation, or we find ourselves in a combat situation, or we just find ourselves in a situation period where running to an extraction, running to an LZ, simply running period as part of the fucking mission, or the mission evolved to the point where we do have to run, or something changed to where we do have to run. She ain't making it. Not it. I'm gonna turn around and be like, well, we fucking lost one. What do? Do we dip or do we go back and get her? Lord knows what fucking happened to her. Maybe a sniper got her. Now a sniper is watching her fucking position. What do we do? Hey, dead. Oh, hey, I'm gonna go help. Dead. Oh, hey, I'm gonna go help. Dead. Because that's what it would be like. Because in the head of every man, we're hardwired to protect a female every single time, whether it makes sense or not. Whether it's logical or not, it's hardwired into our brain, hardwired into our DNA. So not only do you have a female out there fucking with the mental of soldiers, but you have a weaker one, a slower one that's not as fast, one that can't even keep up. So now so now it's an even worse situation. Instead of just, I don't know, being like, hey, you can't keep up with the boys, stay here. You can't keep up with the strongest and the fittest ones, you don't deserve to be there. Just like if you can't keep up with the strongest and fittest ones, you don't deserve to be in the NFL. You don't deserve to be in Major League Baseball. You don't deserve to be in Major League Soccer. You don't deserve to be in the National Hockey Association or the National Hockey League. You don't deserve to be in any of these places if you can't physically fucking do it. Why should the military be any different? I'll leave y'all with that. I'll see y'all later.